Hey there, Stuart Bell from Ardera, and today I want to share with you how the internet has changed the game of marketing and converting clients, and how by shifting your focus a little bit, you can make it much, much easier to attract the right kind of people in and convert them over. Here we go. So of all the things I talk about to businesses on the leverage, particularly those who are growing, I reckon the one that often comes across a lot of the time is, how can I find lots of good new clients? How can I find better clients to come on board? And finally, how can I make the whole process of onboarding a lot faster? There's a whole bunch of information we could talk about here about the fact that only less than 20% of people get advice. We could talk about the fact that when they're in the sales process, research has shown that more than 50% of them drop off before they've got a second meeting. And we could talk about the media beat up. But here's what you need to know about the way that marketing and selling advice has changed. There's a great book called Slow Down, Sell Faster by Kevin Davis. It's a great read, and it's got one big point, which I'd really suggest is worth knowing. Kevin talks about the fact that despite all the focus on sales process, it's not sales process that matters. Buying process is the most important thing. And most people's buying process is a 4-step thing. Step 1, you wake up in the morning and realize you need something today that you didn't need yesterday. Step 2, you go out and research. You try and find solutions that fit what you think you need. And finally, you get into a buying decision. The war rages between buyer reluctance and buyer acceptance, but eventually you tip, you make a decision, and then you try and make the decision as to whether you've made a good decision, you're going to get value out of the relationship, which is either you become an advocate or buyer's remorse kicks in. Now here's where the trouble starts. With advice, the step 2 and step 3, research and buy, used to be the same step. It used to work like this. Some external trigger came along, made me realize I needed to get some advice. I'd ask some people I trusted, some friends or an accountant, who would refer me through to an advisor. I'd ask some questions to the advisor, work out whether that person seemed to know what they were talking about, and hopefully, because the barrier of entry, the price wasn't necessarily that high in most cases, I'd make a decision there and then. Well, then the internet came along, and now we are deluged with information. We live in an information-rich or abundant situation, so information scarcity or being an expert isn't valued as much. Then came Google, and now anybody can go across to Google and type in, what should I do with my money? And being given all sorts of answers. Some of them good, some of them dangerous, some of them just downright stupid. Here's the problem. Because people are going researching the free information first, not only are they getting all this stuff, but also sometimes they're being given information which confirms their worldview. So if they are misinformed and they've got a bad idea about financials to start with, well, this isn't going to make the problem better, it's going to make it worse. So by the time, instead of opposite you as an advisor, chances are you're having to unpack all of this inaccurate, untruthful, or frankly, maybe even a little bit of hard truth kind of information. So suddenly not only have they got this problem of more information, but also they've got the problem trying to work out why the thing they thought they could have, you're telling them is not realistic or just not the case, which generally leads to procrastination. Are you getting me? The internet and the explosion of information has actually made it harder for people to make a decision. And if you doubt me, go stand by the supermarket aisle, just next to the spaghetti sauce, and watch people try and make a decision there. So what's the answer? Well, if you're marketing your advice business, there's a couple of things you need to do really, really well. First thing, you want to be that source of information. In giving away little bits of information about what you do, you need to know that people's free stuff on the internet is better than paid stuff used to be. So this is an opportunity for you to blog, video blog, whatever it is, get it out there, but you work with a specific type of people and give them value from the start. Here's the thing, in doing that, you need to know your target client's hot buttons. What keeps them up at night? What are their frustrations? The things that they worry about? What are their fears? What do they perceive will happen if they don't solve their financial problems? What are their wants, the things they want now, and what are their aspirations? In actual fact, there are 6 wants, hot buttons that sit in behind this, which govern pretty much 99% of advice pieces. And the other bit you need to know is when you ask somebody, what do you want? What do you need? What are your hot buttons? Almost guaranteed when it comes to money, they don't know. Because the rational reason they give you is not the emotional reason that will make them engage. Here's the second thing you need to know. In your engagement process, if somebody's already coming in with information and you're trying to tell them, you're trying to backbind, you're trying to strategize there and then in the meeting, you're adding more information to the pile. What you need is a engagement process, a meeting that helps them unpack their thinking by focusing on 3 things. What is the future they want to create? Ultimately, that's the guiding light that makes it a big picture conversation. When you got clear on that, where are they at now in relation to that picture? And the final bit in the conversation is helping them to unpack what they see as the gap between the two. And if you do this well, you get light bulbs. You get people realizing that the stuff they're doing now isn't going to get them financial result and they need some help. If you position it correctly, that ends up being your help on your terms and on parity. There's a bunch more. The final thing you can do is onboarding. And most people leave that first 90 days of bringing on board a new client to chance, and they miss the opportunity to manage expectations, educate the client on how to engage with advice, and a bunch more. But we're not going to talk about that right here and now. Let's summarize. The internet marketing has changed. As a result, one of the things you need to get your head around as an advice business, if you want to attract lots of clients via automated lead gen sequences, is you need to understand their hot buttons and give away free cheese, if you like, for the mouse so they can come in and eventually engage with you on your terms. Finally, when you do, you need an engagement process, a first appointment. We call it the 9-step strategy session, which enables you not to fact find, not to give more information, not to sell your services, but help clients understand and sift through the reality of what they need to do versus the not so real stuff they've absorbed and misunderstood. So that is a little bit about how to change the way that you attract clients. And if you get this right, you're able to scale your lead gen and your conversion piece. So in other words, you can put stuff out there that can work even while you're sleeping, which is ultimately, one of the paths to a scalable business model, and also convert people with less friction. That's it for that. Stay tuned, because I want to share with you in the next video a little bit about the next piece in the puzzle, which is once you've got clients on board, how can you make sure that your service model doesn't top out, restrain you from working with more clients and impacting them, and also make sure it's profitable. Stay tuned, and I'll see you soon.